Howdy. Just wanted to share my adventure with our Jeep Wrangler 07. A lot of times some of these vehicles end up in the junkyard, especially Dodge, Chrysler, a lot of PT Cruisers, for this reason. The wiring, the way that it's set up, it has a tag inside of it that over time gets pushed out of the way to where it no longer makes contact. So on this one I had codes out the yin yang, no communication with cam sensors, and no signal from alternator, and all kinds of just whew. So it was definitely in these connectors. As you can see, there's wires everywhere. They've been taken off several times because someone replaced the engine. That hurts them also. But the way I got around that, and I don't want to take it apart because I finally got it to where it got no codes, is I took out the little plastic holder inside of these connectors, and I'll show you that in a minute. That allows the pins on the opposite side of the connector, the male side if you want to say, to actually contact the female side of the connector. And then another problem I had with this, you couldn't even read the OBD2. The OBD port was the connectors were so bad I had to replace them. There was just no making contact with them. So that's another way to get around these kind of problems with Dodge. So on the Jeep there, this is the connector to which I was speaking, and it's just held in by these small clips here, but this is where your female pins come through, and then of course the male pin goes through that hole. Well, this hole here restricts how well that pin meets the female end of the connector. So you pop that out, and of course that's what it looks like on the inside. I'm not sure you can see that, but there's one with the clip in there, and this is basically how you get it out. You just pry on it and it pops out. These are a little stubborn sometimes, but that's how it comes out, and it exposes these female connectors in here to a greater degree, where the male pin, when it goes in there, it actually makes contact. Now another thing you can do, I'll have to change the camera angle because I don't think you can see it, is to put a slight curvature on the pins, the male pins that go in there. So simply take a pair of needle nose, and those pins on the inside, just twist them just a hair. And now originally them pins were straight, but see how I've got it twisted just a little bit? Just come in there and twist the pin so that it makes greater contact with that female side of the connector. So we'll go in there and twist all three of these. You don't want to twist it too much because then it won't plug in to the connector. But you're just broadening the amount of space that is available to go in that female connector. And it forces it to make contact with that wore out female connector, which I'll show you here in just a second. So this is the female end of the connector, and it is very broad. It's been used a lot. Now, this is the male end, And as you can see, it goes in there very easily. It just slips in, slips out. Well, here's one that's not quite so wore out. And it takes a lot of effort to get it in there. And that's what you're dealing with. Is this little tang or tag right here on the end gets pushed in so many times. It even just driving down the road, the vibration and the movement of the connector itself pushes that tag out of the way. See how much larger that hole is? To where it no longer makes contact. I mean, you would think that pin in there would surely make contact, period. I mean, it's just going into that hole. But if that little tag right there is pushed in too far, and this male pin goes in and out that easily, it does not make contact. So that's where if you put a twist on the male part of this, it's going in like this. And it's when it's twisted, it's going in like that, and it makes it a little bit more harder for it to go in. So that's the idea there. On that same Jeep, on the right rear wheel sensor, I did everything to that. I twisted them, I took them out, tried to pry that tag out a little more, did absolutely nothing. So finally I replaced this part in the connector, replaced this part here, and everything's fine now. So there's just some times where it just does not work. So you just have to replace this female end of that connector, and it usually fixes it. So just a little tidbits here and there in case you're struggling with these Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep vehicles that you just can't figure them out. 9 times out of 10, it's just the connector, that female connector there. And even though it looks like there's no problem with it, the wire's not cut, if this female end is not functioning properly and allowing that male end to go in and slip out, it's not making contact. So hope this helps. Happy trails.